I was sitting in a coffee shop in Ann Arbor, Michigan, waiting, heart pounding, hands shaking. I was 45 years old, divorced for 8 months, and about to do the bravest or stupidest thing of my life. I was going to tell Caroline, my best friend from high school who I hadn't seen in 23 years, that I'd always been in love with her. That all those years ago, when everyone thought we were just friends, I felt so much more. And that those feelings had never really gone away. When she walked through that door, hair shorter than I remembered, glasses she didn't wear back then, but that smile still identical, my world stopped. And I thought, was it worth waiting 23 years to finally be honest? Or had I just risked destroying the only perfect memory I had? Let me tell you from the beginning. My name is Jennifer Matthews. I'm 45 years old, high school English teacher, living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Divorced 8 months ago after a 20-year marriage. No kids. We tried for years. Went through 3 rounds of IVF. Nothing worked. It was one of many things that slowly killed my marriage. But this story isn't about my marriage. It's about Caroline. Caroline Bennett was my best friend in high school. We met freshman year, in 1994. I was 14. She was too. It was my first day at a new school. My family had just moved from Ohio to the Detroit suburbs because of my dad's job transfer. And there she was, this girl with long blonde hair, bright smile, offering me the seat next to her in homeroom. You look lost. Want to sit here? I'm Caroline. Jennifer, Jen, and yeah, totally lost. Don't worry, everyone is on the first day, but I'll show you around. And she did. Showed me the school, introduced me to her friends, included me in her group. Within a week, we were inseparable. Within a month, we were best friends. That kind of intense teenage friendship where you share everything. Secrets, dreams, fears, clothes, music, everything. We spent every day together. School, then homework at each other's houses, weekends at the mall, at parties, sleepovers every weekend. My mom joked that Caroline was basically my sister, but she wasn't my sister, and the feelings I had for her definitely weren't sisterly. I realized it sophomore year. I was 15. We were lying on her bed listening to music, something we'd done 1,000 times, and she was singing along, totally off-key but not caring, and I looked at her and thought, I'm in love with her. It was terrifying, because it was 1995. In suburban Detroit, in Catholic school. Nobody was gay. Or at least, nobody came out. I vaguely knew lesbians existed, had seen something on TV, in some magazine. But it wasn't me. It couldn't be me. But it was. I spent the rest of high school living with it. In love with my best friend, watching her date boys, listening to her talk about kisses, about crushes, about guys she liked, and pretending I was interested in boys too. Had a few boyfriends. Nothing serious, just to keep up appearances. But my heart? Completely with her. There were especially torturous moments. Like that time sophomore year when she came to school all excited because she'd made out with some guy at a party. Jen, it was amazing. He's such a good kisser. And I had to pretend I was happy for her, ask questions, be the supportive best friend. When inside I was dying of jealousy. Or that night we slept over at her house and she had new pajamas, shorts that showed her legs. And I had to lie next to her in bed, so close I could feel the heat from her body, and pretend it was normal. That I didn't want to touch her, that I wasn't thinking about kissing her, or the times she'd hug me. She was very affectionate, always hugging, holding hands, leaning her head on my shoulder. Totally normal gestures between friends. But for me, every touch was torture and ecstasy mixed together. And there was that moment senior year that almost made me confess. It was late in the year, May of 1997. We were graduating. There was a party, that kind of graduation party where everyone promises to stay in touch forever, knowing they won't. We'd been drinking. Wine coolers hidden in soda bottles, classic high school move. And she was crying because she was breaking up with her boyfriend at the time, this guy Brad. We went to the bathroom of whoever's house was hosting. Her crying, me trying to comfort. He doesn't deserve you. You're amazing and he's an idiot. Why is it so hard, Jen? Why can't I find someone who really gets me? You will. You're wonderful. Anyone would be lucky to be with you. She looked at me, eyes red from crying, drunk and vulnerable. Why can't guys be more like you? You get me. You always get me. Because I know you, really know you. I wish I could date someone like you, who knows me like this, who makes me laugh, who calls when I'm sad. She hugged me, tight. You're the only person who really understands me, Jen. The only one. I held her, breathing in her perfume, that sweet scent she always wore. And I thought, this is it. Tell her. Say you love her. That you could be that person. That you want to be. I opened my mouth. The words were there, ready. Caroline, But at that moment, someone knocked on the bathroom door. Hey, people are waiting. The moment passed. She pulled away, wiped her face. Let's go back. Don't want to ruin everyone's party with my drama. And we went back. And I never told her. After that, in the following months, I regretted it 1,000 times. Why didn't I speak? Why wasn't I brave? But deep down, I knew why. Because I was scared. So scared. Scared of losing her. Scared of what it would mean about me. Scared she'd reject me and I'd lose the only person who really mattered. So I kept it inside. Repressed it. Pretended I didn't feel it. After graduation, we went to different colleges. She went to UCLA, full scholarship, she was brilliant. I went to University of Michigan. We promised to keep in touch. And we did, for a while. Messages, phone calls, occasional visits. But life happens. I threw myself into my studies, trying to forget. She met a guy in college, started dating seriously. The meetups became rarer. The messages more spaced out. And eventually, slowly, we lost touch. The last time I saw Caroline in person was in 2000. She was 20 years old, me too. We met for coffee before she moved to San Francisco. Her boyfriend got a job offer there. We talked about plans, about the future. She said she'd probably marry him eventually. I forced a smile and said I was happy for her. You'll visit, right, Jen? No matter where we are, we'll always be friends. Always, I promised. But I didn't visit. She moved. I dove into grad school, into teaching, into building my career. In 2003, I met Michael. We dated, got married in 2005. Adult life happened. Teaching career, marriage, trying to have kids, frustrations, routine. And Caroline became a memory. The best friend I'd had. The girl I'd loved in secret. The only person who'd really known me. But just a memory. Until April of 2023, when my marriage imploded. It wasn't dramatic. No cheating, no fights, no scandal. Just emptiness. Michael and I had grown in different directions, wanted different things. And after 20 years, we admitted it wasn't working anymore. Amicable divorce. Split everything 50-50. No resentment. But I was devastated. Not because I loved Michael. We'd been more roommates than partners for years. But because I was 44 years old, alone, no kids, and suddenly asking myself, what have I done with my life? It was my therapist, Dr. Phillips, who asked the crucial question. Jennifer, have you ever asked yourself why this marriage was never really complete? Why you always felt like you were playing a role? Because Michael and I weren't compatible. Maybe. Or maybe because you never really let yourself in. Because part of you was always somewhere else. What do you mean? In our sessions, you've talked a lot about your teenage years. about a friend, Caroline. You notice that every time you talk about her, you light up? That it's the only memory that brings you genuine joy? I'd never thought about it, but it was true. And have you considered why that is? Because she was my best friend. Jennifer, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Were you in love with her? Silence. 30 seconds of silence where 23 years of denial crumbled. Yes, I was. And do you think you might still be? How can I still be? It's been 23 years. I don't even know where she is, how she is, if she's married, if she has kids. Then find out. If you're relating to these feelings of unresolved love, hit that like button and subscribe. We share stories of women discovering truths about themselves. It took me 4 months to gather courage. 4 months of therapy, of self-analysis, of finally admitting to myself I'd always been a lesbian or bisexual. The label didn't matter as much as the fact I'd spent my entire life repressing who I was. I'd married Michael because it was expected, because it was safe, because it was easier than admitting the truth. And in those 4 months, I thought a lot about Caroline, about who she was now. Had she changed much? Did she still have that infectious laugh, that way of making everyone feel special? Or had 23 years transformed her into someone completely different? Did she still think about me? Probably not. She'd lived an entire life without me. Had probably gotten married, had kids, career, friends. I was probably just a distant memory to her, the annoying friend from high school she barely remembered. But I needed to know, needed to try. Because the alternative was spending the rest of my life wondering, what if? And I was tired of what if. So I went looking for Caroline. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I searched everywhere, and finally found her. Caroline Bennett Walsh. Marketing consultant, living in Chicago, divorced. That word gave me hope. Irrational, stupid hope. Just because she was divorced didn't mean anything. Didn't mean she was gay. Didn't mean she'd be interested in me. Didn't mean anything. But still, my heart beat faster. I spent a week looking at her profile before messaging. A week analyzing every photo. She looked good. Happy even. Had photos traveling. New York, Miami, even Paris. Photos with friends, smiling widely. Photos working, at conferences, presenting. No family photos, no ex-husband photos, no photos of children. Did she not have kids? Like me? Or did she just not post them? Impossible to know. And the more I looked, the more nervous I got. What would I say? Hi, remember me? The girl who was in love with you in high school and never told you? Yeah, I still am. Want to grab coffee? Ridiculous. But eventually, on a Thursday night, with a glass of wine in hand for courage, I typed the message. Hi, Caroline. Don't know if you remember me. Jennifer Matthews. We were best friends in high school many years ago. Saw you're in Chicago. I'm in Ann Arbor, not far. If you want, would love to meet up, catch up. No pressure if you don't want to. I understand if too much time has passed. Read it 3 times. Almost deleted it. Almost changed it. But in the end, I hit send before I could regret it. And then I waited. 3 hours. 3 hours that felt like 3 weeks. I checked my phone every minute. Had she seen it? Had she ignored it? Had she blocked me? Did she think I was crazy? And then finally, the response came. Jennifer? Of course I remember. Oh my God, how long has it been? I think about you all the time. Would love to see you. When are you free? I read the message 5 times, then 10. I think about you all the time. She thought about me, all the time. 23 years later, she still thought about me. Was it just nostalgia? Probably. But still, it was something. We set it up for 2 weeks later. Chicago was only a 4-hour drive from Ann Arbor. I'd drive down on Saturday morning. We'd meet for lunch. Neutral, public, safe. The 2 weeks until the meeting were agony. I changed outfits 10 times before choosing. Tried 3 different hairstyles. Practiced conversations in the mirror. And I oscillated constantly. Should I tell her the truth about how I felt? Or should I just reconnect, satisfy the nostalgia, and leave the past in the past? My therapist said, "Jennifer, you don't have to decide now. Reconnect with her, see how you feel, then decide. You don't have to confess on the first meeting." She was right, but deep down, I knew I'd end up confessing. Because that's why I was doing this. Not just to satisfy nostalgia. It was to finally, after 27 years, be honest. But not now. Not at the first meeting. First, I needed to know, did the person I'd loved at 14 still exist? Or had 23 years transformed her into someone completely different? I arrived in Chicago early. Too early. Parked near the cafe we'd agreed on. A place in Lincoln Park. Trendy, but not pretentious. Sat in my car for 20 minutes, breathing, trying to calm down. When I finally went in, she was already there, sitting at a corner table. And when I saw her, time stopped. 23 years. She was 45 now, like me. Hair shorter, shoulder length, still blonde but with some gray streaks she wasn't hiding. Glasses, black-rimmed, stylish. Slight wrinkles around her eyes and mouth, but from smiling, not sadness. Wearing a blue sweater and jeans, simple but elegant. But the smile was exactly the same. She saw me, her face lit up, and she practically ran over, pulled me into a tight hug. "Jennifer, oh my God, you look exactly the same." "So do you." A lie, we'd both changed a lot, but in the essentials, we were still us. We sat, ordered coffee, and started talking. It was like the 23 years evaporated. The ease was still there, the connection. We talked about our lives. She told me about California, about the marriage that ended, no kids either, never happened for us, about moving to Chicago 3 years ago. I talked about my teaching career, my recent divorce, about how I was trying to figure out who I was at 45. We talked for 4 hours. When I realized the cafe was closing. "We should do this again," she said as we left. "It was so good to see you, Jen. I missed you." "I missed you too. Seriously, let's do it again. Next month?" We set it up, and the next month we met again, and again. For 3 months we met monthly. Sometimes in Chicago, sometimes Ann Arbor, sometimes coffee, sometimes dinner, sometimes just walking along Lake Michigan. And with each meeting, I fell more in love. Or rather, realized I'd never stopped loving her. It was on a Saturday in September, walking along the Chicago lakefront, that I almost told her. She was talking about a project she was doing, consulting for an LGBT organization, and she commented casually, "It's so beautiful seeing people finally living their truths, you know, no matter the age." Do you know many LGBT people?" I asked, testing the waters. "I do. Have several lesbian friends. A friend who transitioned last year. Chicago is much more open than it was in the 90s. "And how do you feel about that?" She looked at me, curious. "About LGBT people? Jen, I'm super supportive. Always have been. Why?" "Just curious." But it wasn't just curiosity. It was fear. Fear of telling her and her reacting badly. Or worse, reacting well but not feeling the same. It was my therapist who pushed me. "Jennifer, you're going to have to tell her eventually. Every week that passes, you're getting more attached. If she doesn't feel the same, it'll hurt more. And you deserve to know the truth." But what if it ruins everything? What if she pulls away? Then at least you'll know. And you can move forward. But living in uncertainty, in hope, never knowing, that will consume you. She was right. I set up another meeting with Caroline. Same cafe in Lincoln Park where we'd reconnected 3 months ago. Said I needed to talk about something important. She agreed, but I heard the concern in her voice. I arrived early again. This time, drank the coffee. Needed caffeine for courage. When she arrived, sat across from me, concerned. Everything okay, Jen? You got me worried. Everything's fine, I need to tell you something, and it might change everything between us. But I need to be honest. Okay, you're scaring me, but okay, go ahead. I took a deep breath. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Caroline, when we were teenagers, you were my best friend. But for me, you were more than that. I was in love with you. Completely. And I never told you because I was scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of being rejected. Scared of what it meant about me. She was completely still, eyes wide. I continued before losing courage. And when we lost touch, I tried to forget. Convinced myself it was just a phase, teenage confusion. Married Michael. Tried to be the perfect wife. But it never really worked, because part of me was always somewhere else, always with you. Jennifer, let me finish. Please. Tears were already falling. When we reconnected 3 months ago, I realized I never got over you. I still feel everything I felt at 14, 15, 16. And I know it's ridiculous. 23 years later. But I needed to tell you. Because if I didn't, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what if. And I'm tired of living in what if. Silence. Silence that lasted eternal 10 seconds. Then she started crying. Why didn't you tell me before? Before when? When we were 17 and I was terrified of being gay? When you were getting married and moving to California? Anytime, Jennifer. Anytime in the last 23 years. Why? Would it have changed anything? She grabbed my hands across the table. It would have changed everything. My heart stopped. What? Jen, I was in love with you too. The world stopped spinning. What? In high school. I was completely in love with you. Thought only I felt it. Thought you'd never see me that way. So I repressed it. Dated boys. Pretended it was just friendship. You were in love with me? Why do you think I cried so much at graduation? Because I knew we'd drift apart. And I'd have to live without you. But you got married. Just like you got married. Because it was expected. Because it was easier. Because I was terrified to admit I was gay. And James was a good guy. I liked him. But love, the way I loved you, never. I couldn't process it. 23 years. 23 years of anguish, of questioning, of thinking I was alone in that feeling. And she'd felt it too. All along. Why didn't you ever say anything? For the same reason you didn't. Fear. And when we reconnected now, I thought the moment had passed. That you'd gotten over it. That for you, it was just nostalgia for friendship. It was never just friendship for me. Not for me either. We sat there, in that cafe, holding each other's hands, crying and laughing at the same time. 23 years of misunderstanding. 23 years of repressed love. And finally, the truth. So now what? I asked. We wasted 23 years. Or we have the rest of our lives ahead. She squeezed my hand. Jen, I'm 45. Divorced. No kids. Starting life over. And I just found out the woman I loved my whole life feels the same. I'm not wasting more time. Do you want to try? For real? Yes. God, yes. She smiled. That smile I'd loved for 27 years. Then let's try. The months that followed were the happiest of my life. We didn't rush, took it slow, dinners, walks, hours of conversations, getting to know the adult version of each other, learning who we were at 45, not at 17. But it wasn't easy like a romantic movie. There were complications. We were 45 years old. Emotional baggage, trauma from failed marriages, fears. I was terrified of intimacy. 20 years with Michael, and intimacy had become mechanical, obligatory. I didn't know how to be truly vulnerable, how to surrender, especially with a woman, something I'd never done. "Jen, you're shaking," Caroline said the first time we were really alone in her Chicago apartment. "We don't have to do anything you don't want." "I want to, it's just, I've never—" "I know. Me neither. Not with a woman. Not with you." She took my hand. "We'll figure it out together, okay? No rush." And that's how it was. Discovering together. Slowly. Every touch, every kiss, every moment of intimacy was new. Was scary. Was perfect. Caroline had her own fears. She'd come out of a marriage where she was ignored, where James worked so much they were barely in the same house, where she felt invisible. "I'm scared you'll leave," she confessed one night. "That you'll realize you waited 23 years for a fantasy, not the real person I am." "Caroline, I've known you for 27 years. I know who you are, the good parts and the difficult ones. And I choose you, all of you. Even when I'm stubborn, especially when you're stubborn. Even when I leave dishes in the sink. Okay, that annoys me. But even that I accept." She laughed and pulled me into a hug. Those hugs of hers I'd missed for 23 years. The first kiss happened a month after that confession. We were at her apartment watching a movie, a silly romantic comedy neither of us was really paying attention to. And at one moment, our eyes met, and it just happened. It wasn't a perfect movie kiss. It was awkward at first. We bumped noses, laughed nervously, tried again, and then it clicked. Soft lips, taste of wine, hands trembling but holding firm. When we separated, we were both crying. 27 years, Caroline whispered. 27 years since I met you, and I finally got to do that. Was it worth the wait? Every second. In the following months, we built something solid. It wasn't just passion, though there was plenty of passion. It was companionship. It was laughter. It was sitting on the couch in comfortable silence, each reading our book. It was cooking together Sunday morning. It was arguing about which show to watch and giving in because seeing her happy mattered more than being right. It was real life, with a real person. Not the teenage fantasy I'd held for 23 years, but something better, something true. In December, 6 months after reconnecting, she asked me to move in with her. "It's early, I know," she said. "But Jen, we've known each other for almost 30 years. We already wasted 23, and I wake up every day wanting you here. So, want to move to Chicago? Move in with me?" I should have thought more, should have been rational. But at 45, tired of being rational my whole life, I said, "Yes, let's do this." I moved to her Chicago apartment in January. Mixed our things. My teaching books with her marketing materials, my plants with her organized chaos. Created a home. My family took time to accept, my mom especially. The divorce news had already been difficult. The news I was with a woman was worse. I called my mom for lunch, a month after officially dating Caroline. We sat at a restaurant in Ann Arbor and I told her, "Mom, I need to tell you something. I'm dating someone." "Oh, that's good, honey. After the divorce, I thought you'd never want." She stopped. Saw something in my face. "What?" "It's a woman, Mom. I'm dating a woman." Silence. Long. Uncomfortable. "What do you mean, a woman?" "A woman. Someone you know, actually. Caroline. My friend from high school." "Caroline Bennett? That girl who slept over every weekend?" "That's her." My mom turned white. "Jennifer, have you lost your mind? You were married for 20 years. To a man. How are you suddenly into women?" "Mom, I've always been into women. I just didn't have the courage to admit it." "So your marriage was a lie? You lied to Michael, to me, to everyone?" "It wasn't a lie. It was what I thought I had to do. I liked Michael. But love? The way I should? No. Never." "And you think you love this? This Caroline?" "I don't think. I know. I've loved her since I was 14. My mom was in shock, paid the bill, got up and said, "I need to process this." And left. Didn't speak to me for 6 weeks. 6 whole weeks of silence. She'd call my dad, who was a reluctant intermediary. "Your mother needs time, Jennifer. You know how she is. Traditional, religious. This challenges everything she believes. And you, Dad? How do you feel?" "Me? Honey, you're 45 years old. You don't need my approval. But if you want to know, I just want you to be happy. If this woman makes you happy, that's fine with me. She does. Happier than I've ever been. Then that's what matters." Eventually, my mom came around. Called, said she wanted to meet this person. Not Caroline, not your girlfriend. This person. We set up lunch. Me, Caroline, my mom, my dad, at the same restaurant where I'd told her. Tense atmosphere. My mom barely looked at Caroline. My dad tried to make small talk. It was Caroline who broke the ice. "Mrs. Matthews, I know you're uncomfortable, and I understand. Completely. But I want you to know, I love your daughter. I've loved her for almost 30 years, and I'm going to take care of her. Make her happy. That I promise." My mom looked at her. Really looked. And something in her face softened. Just a little. "You're the girl who slept over at our house, who ate my apple pie." "I am. And your apple pie is still the best I've ever had." A small smile. Very small. "You still like apple pie?" "Love it." "Then I'll make one. You two come for dinner Saturday." And like that, slowly, my family started accepting. Not with enthusiasm, but with resignation that eventually became genuine acceptance. Today, 6 months later, my mom treats Caroline not like a daughter, but like family. Invites us for Sunday lunches, sends leftovers, even makes jokes about my girls. It's more than I expected. Friends were easier. My best friend from college, Rachel, laughed when I told her. "Finally, Jennifer. I knew." "What do you mean you knew?" "Please. 20 years married and you never seemed really happy. There was always something missing. And every time you talked about that friend from high school, you lit up. It wasn't hard to connect the dots." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you had to figure it out yourself, but I'm happy you finally did." Other friends reacted with surprise but support. "You seem like yourself for the first time," was the most common comment. And it was true. I was myself for the first time. Wasn't playing the role of perfect wife. Wasn't pretending to feel things I didn't feel. At 45, I was finally authentic. Today, 9 months after that reconnection, life is routine. Good routine. We wake up early. I have teaching. I got a position at a Chicago high school. She has consulting work. Breakfast together. Goodbye kiss. Messages during the day. How's it going? Miss you. Remember to buy bread on the way back. We come home at the end of the day. Cook together. She's a better cook than me. But I try. Dinner watching the news. Then couch, series, conversation, intimacy. Weekends, we walk along Lake Michigan. Visit parents, hers and mine. Have lunch with friends who are now couple friends, not just mine or just hers. It's simple. It's normal. It's everything I always wanted without knowing. Are there challenges? Of course. We fight. About silly things. Who forgot to wash dishes, who left the light on, what show to watch. And about more serious things. Fears, insecurities, trauma we carry from previous marriages. But the difference is, we talk. Don't hold it in. Don't pretend. Put it on the table. Discuss. Resolve. You know what's different here? Caroline told me one night, after a fight about me working too much. We fight, and I'm not afraid you'll leave. With James, every fight felt like it would be the end. Because deep down, we knew it wasn't solid. But with you, we fight, and I know after we'll work it out. Because this is real. It's real, I agreed. Sometimes frighteningly real. But good. The best. Some people think it's strange. 2 45-year-old women, fresh out of long heterosexual marriages, now together. Is it just a phase? I've heard. Is it just post-divorce neediness? But it's not. I know that for sure. Because what I feel for Caroline isn't new. It's 27 years old. It went dormant, repressed, denied. But it was always there. And now, finally, I can live it. We talk about the future now. Things we never talked about in our marriages because they didn't feel real. Where we want to travel. She wants to show me California, where she lived for so many years. I want to take her to Europe, something I never did with Michael. We talk about maybe getting a dog, about remodeling the apartment. About small dreams that feel enormous because they're ours. We talk about marriage, too. Gay marriage has been legal in the U.S. since 2015, but both of us are gun-shy. 20 years in straight marriages left scars. Maybe someday, Caroline says, when it feels right, when we're ready. And I agree, there's no rush. We have time. We've joined the LGBT community in Chicago, go to Pride events, have made lesbian couple friends our age, other late bloomers, other women who came out in their 40s. There's a whole community of us, and it's comforting, knowing we're not alone. There are days I look at her, early morning, messy hair, no makeup, drinking coffee, and think, I waited 23 years for this. And I don't know whether to laugh or cry, because it was 23 years lost. But it was also 23 years that brought me here. Ready, mature, capable of truly appreciating this. My students at school don't know about my personal life. I keep it private. But I'm out to my colleagues. And I notice that some of my LGBT students gravitate toward me, like they sense a kindred spirit. I can be the teacher I wish I'd had at 14, when I was terrified and confused. I can show them it's okay, that it gets better, that there's life after fear. One student, a girl named Emma, came out to me last month. 16, scared, didn't know how to tell her parents. And I told her, "You're brave, braver than I was. It took me until 45 to come out. You're doing it now. That takes courage." She cried, and I cried with her. And I thought about 14-year-old me, terrified and alone, and wished I could tell her, It's going to be okay. More than okay. Do you have regrets? Caroline asked me one night. We were lying in bed, room dark, just streetlight coming through the window. About what? Not telling me before. Marrying Michael. Wasting so much time. I thought seriously before answering. Sometimes, when I think about everything we could have lived if we'd had courage at 17, but most of the time, no, because I wouldn't have been capable of sustaining this at 17. We were kids, living in 1997, in Catholic school, with conservative families. It would have been impossible, or at least would have been much harder than it is now. Do you think it would have worked? No, honestly, no. We needed to grow, needed to have experiences, needed to discover who we were outside of each other. So when we came back, we'd be ready. So it wasn't 23 years wasted. It was 23 years of preparation. She held my hand in the darkness. I like that version better. Me too. Comfortable silence. Then, Jen? I love you. Don't know if I say it enough, but I love you, since I was 14, and I'll love you until I die. I turned to her, found her eyes in the semi-darkness. I love you too. Always have. Always will. And we kissed, soft, slow, unhurried, because we had the rest of our lives. Some people think it's too late. 45 to come out. 23 years wasted in a heterosexual marriage. But I don't see it that way. Those years weren't wasted. They were what needed to be to get me here. To be ready. To finally have courage. And Caroline feels the same. We wouldn't have worked at 17, Jen. We were children. Had to grow. Had to live. To be ready for this now. She's right. At 17, love is intense but immature. At 45, love is construction. It's choice. It's commitment. It's looking at the person beside you and deciding, every day, yes, you. And every day I choose her. And she chooses me. If you're going through this, 40, 50 years old, divorced, questioning your sexuality, thinking about that friend you secretly loved your whole life, I see you. I was you. It's not too late. It's never too late to be honest with yourself. Never too late to live your truth. Never too late for love. Did I waste 23 years? Maybe. But I gained the rest of my life. And it's worth every second. If this story touched you, leave a like, subscribe, share. These stories need to be told, to show it's possible, to show you can survive, to show you can rebuild. This is my story, how my high school best friend, who I secretly loved for 27 years, became my love. How finally, at 45, I had the courage to tell the truth. And how I discovered she'd felt the same all along. Thank you for listening. Until the next story.